Hello again, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 120 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you on YouTube. Drew was saying I thought that was a live capture of you, not a still. Oh, which one do you mean now? This is going to be an interesting episode. But I need to do the kind of preliminary introductions. I think this hair is just getting crazy. God, right. But I'm trying to avoid getting a haircut because some of us are still being very, very cautious about where we do or don't go out. Okay, so for those of you who are watching the recording, and whether you're watching the recording or you're watching live, you're very, very welcome. I've just done a live video on the new Amouage Overture Woman, but now I will do a link to that in the video description below in a little while if you would like to watch that first. Shave it off, says Richmond. How dare you? That would not go down well. That would not go down well. Lots and lots of hellos. Melissa's saying hello. Eric says some Renaissance hair. I suppose that's true, actually. Yeah, we could look at it that way. Hello from Germany, says Flackener. Sorry for being late. You don't need to apologise for that. Love the fluffier hair, says Lannon. Okay. Thank you very much. Nice bit of validation. This is really, really interesting because what we're doing today is smelling the new Renaissance quartet from Amouage. The very, very first thing I need to say to you about them is that these are not retail products. I hope Renault can disclose the perfumers for the other two. No, I can. It's fine. I have the press material. You're in safe hands. We're okay. Start with Endeavour, please, says Osa. Wow, you guys know your stuff. These are just samples for the purpose of review. Okay. You may have seen, I don't know whether the Amouage website already contains the images of what the bottles look like, but basically two of them will come in what we consider to be the masculine bottles and two of them come in what we consider to be the feminine bottles, and each one is a different color, etc., etc. So, these are not sellable retail products. Okay, let's very, very quickly put this in context, right? A lot of you will know that for the longest time, Amouage had a creative director called Christopher Chong, who was actually interviewed on this channel a while ago. In his last week at work, actually, he was interviewed. Then Amouage, and he was a very, very respected figure who gave the brand lots and lots of hits, and actually was part of the reason why it's such a beloved and respected brand that people turn to for innovation and boldness and mixing Arabian styles with international aesthetics, etc., etc., etc. So a tough act to follow, in other words. And then the brand appointed a new creative director that they're calling a creative experience officer, and he was also very kind enough to come onto this channel and do an interview with me a few months ago, and you will be able to find that interview if you just search for it, and I'll try and link to it as well. But it is only now that we have got the first truly distinctive and clear sense of his vision for the brand. So the new chap's name is Renaud Salmon. The first release that he did was a flanker, and he explains why he did that in the interview. It was a flanker to Interlude Man. His second release is not exactly a flanker, but it's the feminine counterpart to a masculine perfume that already existed, because we already had Overture Man, so he felt that the pairing ought to be completed with Overture Woman. But this Renaissance collection is the first, as far as I'm told, is the first truly Renaud Salmon collection, and it gives us a sense of where he is planning to take the brand. And I'm not going to lie to you, I got these samples a few days ago. I could not resist. I resisted opening the Overture Woman for you, so when I opened it in the video just now, that genuinely was me smelling it for the first time. But with these guys, I couldn't resist. And I also thought, let's actually do a video where I have already lived with them a little bit, where I've read a little bit about them, where I've had a chance to think about them, just to give them just to give them as much of a chance and not really just judge them because on a first sniff, because they are important. You've all gone quiet. This feels like, when I'm in a classroom and everybody's just sort of hanging on my every word. We're also really interested to see where they go based on the interviews. The two seem to be polar opposites in personality and taste, says Cole. So can we get the interpretation now, says Druba. Opposites, yeah, but I don't know about polar opposites because from what I see, I think they both, they both appreciate quality. They both want their visions to, um, I would say they both want their visions to be executed as completely and comprehensively as possible. Um, Certainly Renaud in the interview appeared to be much quieter and more mild-mannered, I suppose, than Christopher Chong. But I don't know. I think there may be a bit of a perfectionist there as well, and I'm sure Christopher is a perfectionist. So we have Amouage blotters to go with our Amouage scents. And what can I tell you about them? So, everyone enjoys hearing you take, no matter how long it takes, says Drew. I don't know about everybody. The number of times people leave comments saying, can you just stop talking and hurry up and smell the perfumes? Anyway, put that to one side. So, looked at as a whole, each one is inspired, and they are all sort of overall inspired by the Omani landscape, which is also interesting because I think Renaud would like to take the inspiration for the brand back to its Omani roots in a way. And when you look at them as a whole, you kind of go, oh, okay. So it's almost as though he's taking us back to first principles, because there's a jasmine, there's a rose, there's an incense, and there's an amber. And that makes you kind of sit back and think, oh, okay, makes sense. You've kind of almost set yourself this task of going, what are some of these quintessentially Middle Eastern set. Interesting, there isn't an overt oud, but that's fine. Maybe better not to start with an oud. So of course, frankincense is really, really inextricably linked with the history of Oman. Some of the highest quality frankincense in the world comes from Oman. Ambery scents, labdanum scents are also very much associated with the Middle East. Jasmine, rose, rose is a huge, huge, huge ingredient in Middle Eastern perfumery. So I imagine maybe he kind of thought, where would be a good place to bring about this rebirth, to cause this renaissance? And I suppose it probably didn't take him long to think, yeah, rose, jasmine, incense, amber is probably a good place to start. And I'm gonna let you off the hook and say that I like them. I think they're extremely well done. We'll talk about how different or how similar they may be in style to the previous ones. But of course, like in perfumery can sometimes be, damning with kind of mildly faint praise. I think I am well on the way to loving one of them, really loving it, again, because I find it really intriguing, and possibly loving two of them. But, when you sort of smell them collectively, I feel you can't help you can't help but to kind of sit back and, stroke your chin and nod your head and go, yeah, nice work, Renaud. This is a good start. This is a solid start. This is a very promising start. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like you're shortchanging the fans. It doesn't feel like you're shortchanging the audience, although they are different from what has come before. And I think that's fair enough because, I think maybe the Christopher Chong aesthetic had maybe come to the end of where it was going to go. And maybe Christopher Chong himself, if he'd stayed, would have had to have gone off in a completely different direction, which he kind of started doing, with the more overtly floral ones. Have I talked enough now? Would you like me to spray one of them? Let's start with the rose, okay? So what we have, no more gendering, please, says Lannon. What we have they're called Ashore. Spray, says Renaud. I have to say, and this is really awkward because Renaud Salmon, the creative experience officer, is watching. I think the names are going to take me a while to get used to because I'm not sure that the names for me, in my mind, particularly tie in with the scents. So that would be one thing I say, but that's nothing to do with the smells, okay? Except, of course, the rose. The rose is called Crimson Rocks, okay? So we have Ashore, Meander, Enclave, and Crimson Rocks. So let's start with the rose. And I have got the press material and I will share it with you. And we're just going to have a great big old Amouage party here because it is, this is a big deal, right? This is a big deal for us. So Crimson Rocks from the Renaissance collection from Amouage. And this is one of the ones that will be coming in the feminine shaped bottle if that Tells you anything. Benjamin says Amouage party. I'll get the first round. We should have an Amouage party. Renaud, if we all came over to Oman, do you think you might be able to kind of accommodate a huge Amouage party? One day, isn't that something to look forward to? One day when this is all over, and please let us all make it through it safely, we'll all meet up in Oman and we'll have a huge Amouage party. That is really something to look forward to. Do you know, on a personal note, twice Madame Persolaise and I actually booked hotels, booked trips, etc., to go to Oman. And one time we had to cancel because of some unfortunate things that happened in the family. And the second time was going to be this Easter. It was going to be 2020. And then something happened that meant we had to cancel our trips. And for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. Anyway. So. Party menu, first cocktail, interlude, man on the rocks. I like that. Now, so this is very obviously a rose. But it's got an edge to it. It's got a kind of peppery, incensey edge. It's got maybe a fruitiness at the top. And I started with this one because to my nose so far, I think this is the kind of this is the sort of straightest of the four, as far as I'm concerned. This is a sort of, yeah, it's an Arabian rose. Not that it does the oud thing, not that it does the leather thing, okay, but it's a slightly jammy, maybe slightly boozy, very very red crimson rose, and it kind of delivers the goods in a very solid, no nonsense, good quality, you know. Powdery as well is the word I should have used, because it has got a powdery, maybe even a retro quality to it. I don't know. So let's find out what this one was, because as I say, each one was inspired by a different landscape, and this is where I need to rose like Nama. No, because it's not that super peppery, mind you. Nama, you know, not many roses are like Nama. Okay, so where are we? I'll kind of give you the general. Are all of these Julien Raquinet creations? No, only one of them is, and I'll tell you which one in a sec. So, Crimson Rocks. Crimson Rocks is made by Domitille Michalon-Bertier. We used to know her as Domitille Bertier, but the surname has become double-barreled. She says, while creating this fragrance, I was inspired by the crimson colour of the rock rose of Al-Hajar and the shade of its mountains illuminated by the last rays of the April sun. I used two different and innovative rose extractions, allowing their majestic scents to unveil directly in the top note and then reveal other facets in the heart of the composition. It is textured with cinnamon essential, which smells red in my mind. Yeah, I get that, the kind of dry spiciness, but also with a surprising honey accord, recalling the specialty of the region. Finally, I built a potent dry down with the heady, addictive notes of oak wood, enhanced with vetiver and red cedar wood. And actually, just reading that, you know what it most closely reminds me of in a way is Rosu from Aesop from earlier in the year, which I also really liked. But it's straighter. It's not as fuzzy and mysterious and strange as the Aesop. This is a really, really solidly done, you know, excellent quality rose. Is it different enough to have a place amongst the other Amouage roses? Lyric, rose incest, says Benjamin. Yes, I think, in a word. You know, it doesn't remind me of those. It doesn't remind me of a lyric. It definitely doesn't remind me of rose incense. But I wonder, out of the four of them, I wonder if this is the one that actually maybe is the least identifiable, the least distinctive. I was actually given a bottle of rosy cinnamon. How does this compare to Rock Rose by Clive Christian? Sorry, I don't know that one. I'm not overly familiar with the Clive Christian range. Okay, let's do another one. And then I will also give you the sort of overall blurb. And let's do... See, again, with these names, I've forgotten which are the ones that... Let's do... Oh, I think I remember now. Let's do... No, I need to check it out. No, okay, let's do Enclave. Let's do the one that I'm going to need to remember, because I think Meander is the one that I'm really, really going to fall for very, very heavily, I think. Enclave is by Julien Raquinet, who made The Moon for Frederick Mal, and who actually spent many years of his career in Dubai, in the Middle East, and became quite steeped in this sort of olfactory traditions of that part of the world. And Enclave is the one which, if you like, is the kind of amber, okay? But it's interesting. And of those of you who watched the video that I did just a few minutes ago on Overture Woman, these scents really, I think, encapsulate what we have seen hints of in Interlude Black Iris, in Overture Woman, this sense of not making creations that are, let's be blunt, that are kind of crazy, okay? That's one of the reasons why we found some of the Amouage perfumes of recent years intriguing and fascinating, bold, but not always likable. And like I think I wrote in many reviews over on Persolaise.com, I was always fascinated to see what the next Amouage release would be, even though I knew full well that I may actually not end up liking it. And I forget which are the ones that really pushed some of my buttons. I think it may have been things like Myths and Fate, you know, some of the ones that really started becoming quite out there and quite polarizing. I'm not sure Renaud Salmon is interested in that. I would think he's more interested in a kind of chic. See, Imitation Man says, oh, so now Imitation Man was also out there, but I could take it. See, I quite like that. And I guess that's the risk that you take if you do things that are polarizing. Some people will go with you on that journey and they'll go, yeah, I'm really on this weird trip with you. Or some people may go, oh, no, actually, I can't take this one. I don't think Renaud Salmon will be taking us on strained journeys, but I think he'll be taking us on very beautiful journeys, very picturesque journeys. I think slower journeys, quieter journeys, you know, maybe journeys that we need to kind of stop to notice the details, if you see what I mean, rather than big, bold flashes of colour announcing their presence straight away, which is fine. You know, both of those styles of perfumery are totally legitimate. And if anybody has ever met me, they know that I absolutely have no problem with wearing things that are huge and loud and dramatic and room stealing. But there is room for both, right? And Enclave is a good example of this because, yes, all of the ambery notes are there. Yes, it doesn't really smell like any kind of ambery type scent that I've smelt before, and yet it doesn't shout. And the dry down of this one, Madame Persolaise was going a little bit crazy over the dry down of this one, I have to say. Let's see what Julien Raquinet himself says. When I created Enclave, my idea was to capture the very special light of the sun setting on the fjords of Musundum. This moment, completely out of time, conveys opposite feelings that I have extrapolated with contrasting ingredients. I chose to express the deep freshness of the fjords with spearmint and cardamom. Now, I've read about the spearmint thing. You know, as soon as I say it, I go, oh yeah, there's the mint. But it's so well blended. You see, again, nothing really leaps out as a kind of box ticking, oh yes, there's the spearmint, there's the cardamom, but the coolness of cardamom is definitely here. I guess what I'm trying to say is that these are quite abstract blends, really. Anyway, spearmint and cardamom, which refresh the cliffs on which the sun has beaten down all day long. I imagined the feeling of that incredible heat with notes of amber extreme, labdanum resinoid, and cinnamon oil, enriched with rose absolute and saffiano, which I guess is some sort of IFF material, because Julien is IFF, while earthy notes of vetiver and patchouli evoke hot lands and stones. And again, this is one of the ones where I just kind of think, I want to get to know this more. Good, doesn't smell like mouthwash. No. And I wonder if the brand were a little bit worried about saying mint in the list of notes, because this you know, you do not for a moment think of mouthwash or toothpaste or anything like that. Oh, Saffiano is a leather. Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you. No, and if anything, that kind of interplay between the spearmint and the cardamom is really, really beautifully judged. So yeah, this is nice work. Okay, I'm conscious of the fact that I may have missed some comments, for which I apologize, but I kind of need to keep going because otherwise we'll be here forever, because we've got two more. Now I'd like to sort of take a bit of a back step and just read you the overall, some of the overall blurb, because it is quite long. I'm not going to do it all. But let's see how the brand present this collection to us, okay? Marking the birth of a new era in the company's history, Amouage has revealed its Renaissance collection, narrating a key chapter in the brand's odyssey to paradise. I like that. The collection features 4 alluring fragrances, which we've already talked about, each depicting Amouage's romantic interpretation of encountering pure joy. Now, see, this is interesting. And whereas the previous style may have been challenge, boldness, pushing buttons, here it's let's just encounter pure joy, which is a different take. Drawing inspiration from its home country, the Sultanate of Oman, these sophisticated blends of exquisitely contrasting scents are a liberating force of imagination created by internationally renowned perfumers. So I may as well mention them now. So we said Domitil Michalon-Bertier for Crimson Rocks, we've said Julien Raquinet for Enclave, and the other 2, Ashore and Meander, were made by Mackenzie Riley, both of them made by the same person. And the Chief Experience Officer, Renaud Salmon, now this is where I get to read out your words, Renaud, says, Amouage is renowned for creating some of the most finely crafted perfumes in the world for over 3 decades. Continuing to build on this legacy, I wanted to take the brand on a quest, one that will see us explore new frontiers and new facets of the house. I chose to debut this epic fragrance odyssey, epic, ooh, see what you did there, with Renaissance, the rebirth where we translate what it means to experience pure joy, unbound by perception. The Renaissance collection arouses a surging emotion of inner connectivity drawn from the Sultanate's breathtaking nature, evoking its picturesque contours, colours and essence. The unique experiential aesthetic of the fragrances is further accentuated by beautifully coloured translucent bottles and artistic boxes presenting their owners with a work of art. And then it goes on to describe the actual perfumes. So Enclave, like we said, is meant to be inspired by the fjords of Musandam. And we talked about Crimson Rocks, which is meant to be inspired by the Hajar Mountains in all their glory at dusk. So I think we move on now. Let us do Ashore, okay? Ashore is the jasmine made by Mackenzie Riley. And again, this is just a beautifully made jasmine. And I asked Madame Persolaise to smell these. Actually, I asked her to smell them all, and she also just kind of had one of her eye closing moments and went And this jasmine does that because what's interesting though is that it's got a salty edge to it, and that I find fascinating. And I wonder if that's meant to be a kind of nod to the sea, because of course Oman is coastal, and it makes you think: is it a cologne jasmine? Is it a fresh jasmine? But as it develops, it becomes really, really smooth and cocooning and buttery and enveloping. Never overly indolic. Jared, just saw your comment. Obviously, the indols are there, but this isn't mothball territory. Maybe a little bit hyacinthy, which I think is what maybe pushes it in that kind of area of freshness. But I have to say, I smelt this and I just thought, wow, this easily becomes one of the most sort of photorealistic jasmines that are out there. It's really, really nicely done. I think what you want from a jasmine perfume or a jasmine perfume that's kind of heading into soliflor territory, is you want to get a sense of walking past some jasmine and the scent is just coming to you on the breeze. And this captures that. Always think Mrs. Bucket when I hear a scent hyacinth. If it's an Odyssey, maybe this is the nymph calypso of the range, says Gavin, maybe. How does it compare to Hermès Cèdre Sambac? No, because that what Christine Nagel did in Cèdre Sambac was really, really play the wood and the jasmines perfectly up against each other. This is straighter again. Is it feminine, says Osa? We don't talk about feminine and masculine here. It is one of the ones that is going to be in the feminine bottle, but absolutely anybody could wear this. It's just it's really bright. It's really happy, content. It's just sunny. It captures the light of that area. Yes, that's exactly what I think of the perfect jasmine, says Cole. Let's see what Mackenzie Riley has to say about this one. So for Ashore, she says, creating Ashore took me on a dreamlike journey through the olfactive landscape of Oman's eastern shores. I drifted off under the blinding sun on the coast of Ras Al Jins, intoxicated by the scent of jasmine sambac, piercing through the sky as an extremely bright solar accord. Yeah, well, it's all in here. I was enveloped by the sun's surreal luminosity, beating down on the infinite white sand beaches, and there is something really white about this perfume, and captured the salty mineral notes of ambergris to evoke, okay, right, salty mineral, that was there, to evoke the waves breaking on the shore. India is just a few miles away, and the notes of cardamom and turmeric recall the scent of spices the wind carries along with the jasmine, a whisper to wake up. Now, I've smelt the perfumes before, okay, but I haven't read these releases before, and it's interesting. She talks about the sea, the salty notes of ambergris, the wind, things being carried on the wind. I just love it when things kind of align and come together, and what a perfumer intended actually comes through in the scent. I mean, those are really special moments, I think, in perfumery. And hats off to Renaud Salmon for making it happen. You know, it's just so beautiful. It's really, really, you know, it just kind of gets, and I'm getting the cardamom now. Actually, it just makes you want to pause and stop and appreciate the beauty of the things around you, and just maybe remind you to be kinder to everybody around you. Really, really nice work. And then finally, although I can't remember the names, finally Meander. Meander is the one that at the moment I'm thinking I will definitely fall in love with. The other one, maybe Enclave, maybe Ashore. I don't know yet. Maybe I'll fall in love with both of them. I don't know. But Meander is interesting. Meander was one of those ones that made me go. Now, I realise that I've probably oversaturated my nose because these are diffusive, okay? I keep talking about them as not being loud, huge, but somehow in their chicness, somehow in their restraint, they do manage to make their presence felt, okay? So please don't think that they're like skin scents. It's just that I don't think they make you twist your face, you know, perplexed or confused. They sort of draw you in. Is Meander in a male flacon, says Osa? Ooh. Good question. I think so. I think it will be. All will be revealed on the Amouage website soon because these go on sale on the 15th. So we're very, very fortunate to be smelling them here together, by the way. Anyway, this is Meander. And yeah, this is interesting. Yeah. Now this is ostensibly the incense one, I think, okay? But there's something else going on here that is just so fascinating. And again, I say again because I talked about this in relation to Overture Woman in the previous video. There's a kind of papery dryness. I mean, incense, olivinum as a note, isn't particularly sweet anyway. But it doesn't have a kind of paper dryness. So this is citrusy, irisy, cedary, obviously woody, so it's kind of like dry, but with the sort of, I don't know, spiritual, meditative smokiness of incense. It's hard to describe because it also has a kind of fuzzy, skin-like, musky quality. This is the one that it kind of makes you go, ooh, what's going on here? Let me read it to you. This is again Mackenzie Riley, okay? Salala, she says, holds one of the most precious gems of the fragrance world. The finest quality of frankincense is harvested from the boswellia trees growing in the rich soil in the middle of the desert. I chose to paint a contradiction between lush green vegetal notes. Yeah, but you see, again, nothing overdone. It's all blended so beautifully, so seamlessly. Lush green vegetal notes and warm, dry desert dust, fog and smoke, real and unreal. Two different qualities of olivinum, an oil and a resinoid, lend the precious incense signature the fragrance carries throughout its development. This character is enhanced with rich earthy notes of carrot heart and orris root. Okay, so carrot and iris flow into each other. Deep, smoky cypriol, and vetiver from the island of Java. Sensuous, creamy sandalwood wraps these powerful notes with a gentle sophistication, and a touch of jonquil, interesting, evokes the unexpected, lush nature of the land. And yeah, and you know, doesn't that description just sound really intriguing? Because you've got green vegetal notes, warm desert dust, two different qualities of incense, carrot and iris, cypriol and vetiver. This is somebody's asking for jonquil. A jonquil, you know, forgive me botanists out there, but a jonquil is a type of daffodil, or a daffodil is a type of jonquil. And some of them, and of course they're all narcissi, I think, am I right? And some of them do have a scent. This is fascinating. This is fascinating. Benjamin says, hang on, because I'm going back to reading comments now, and Benjamin was saying, that is tremendous. Mackenzie, Riley and Renaud have really knocked it out of the park. How prominent is the sandalwood, says Frag Chi-Town? Not especially. I mean, you know, it's not one of those really, really ghastly synthetic sandalwoods that are overused, you know, things like, I don't know, Javanol and Ebenol. Sorry, I shouldn't say they're ghastly. What I mean is that their overuse is ghastly, because they are overused sometimes, and of course they have absolutely a place in the palette. Is it incense like Interlude Man, says Osa? No, not overly, you know, not overly in your face smoky, but it is there. It is there in a kind of mineralic cleanliness. Probably like Interlude Man with a Myths Woman twist, says Huss. I'd have to revisit Myths Woman. You guys know your perfumes really, really well. So I'm sorry that I missed a lot of the comments that were coming, but I think you'll appreciate that we had to keep going. We've really, really gone over time. I wanted to make sure that I gave these their due. So we won't do another video today. So I won't tell you what it was going to be. We'll save it for next time. What's Benjamin saying? Damn it, now I have to buy at least 2 of these. It's okay, I'll just move my wedding back again and remortgage the house. It's important to have priorities. I completely agree. Renaud, are you seeing this? Are you watching people rearrange their lives around your work? So oh, Renaud says agree. Okay. Let's just have another sniff, right? So we started with Crimson Rocks, which is the rose. Whoops, don't drop it, Persolaise. Yeah, and the rose, I mean, okay, my nose is probably just overwhelmed by all this gorgeousness now. The rose is a good, straightforward rose. I still think probably for me the least interesting of the 4 here. Yes, then came Enclave, and because my nose is blocking out certain things, I'm picking out the mint more now, but you know, generally when you're wearing this, the mint isn't that heavy. And then we had Ashore, which is really playing that kind of salty jasmine thing very well, and we finished with Meander, which is just fascinating. Maybe it's the sandalwood that's actually giving everything this kind of beautiful fuzziness. There will be a blotter update after a few hours, maybe tomorrow morning, where I will say how these things have developed on the blotter. But until then, thank you very much for watching. I think we should also say thank you very much, Monsieur Salmon, for joining in and for biting your tongue and restraining yourself, or biting your fingers and not, you know, kind of interjecting every 2 seconds. And I think we can publicly say, or I can publicly say to you, congratulations, well done, sir. I'm certainly going to be enjoying learning more, you know, getting to know these more. Thanks for the sneak peek, says Jared. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, or I think that the press release says, no, not as far as I'm aware, I am aware that they're out on the 15th, so you'll be able to find out price details and actually see what the bottles, etc. are like. But until next time, stay safe, look after yourselves, watch out on social media for details of when the next videos will come out, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.